my dear students, welcome back to my class. In the series of learning programming in C, in the previous video we have discussed about strings in C and we have learnt many built-in functions, the usage of that, and we have implemented those built-in functions and we have seen the programs without using those built-in functions also. Well, in today's video, we will start with a new topic, that is functions in C. We will see many topics on this functions, why we require function, the types of function, and how to implement these functions. So those who are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon so that you can get the notification of all the new videos. And if you like the video, please click on the like button and share the videos to all your friends. So let us see the definition of function first. So what is a function actually? So function is nothing but a task actually. Right, so it is called as a block of statements. Function is defined as a block of statements that perform a well-defined task, a specific task. So for example, I may ask you to perform a small task of performing mathematical operations. So that is one task. In order to perform the task, what we do, we write a statement, a set of statements. That is what block of statement. And we usually represent a block using the open braces and closed braces. So this is called as block of statements. So we define the block of statements that says what actually the task has to do. So function is nothing but a block of statement that performs a well-defined task, that perform a specific task. Talking about this function, I can say these functions or some functions are already defined and some functions are not defined. The functions which are not defined, that we need to define, the user has to define. So talking about the types of function, we have the built-in function. So we have inbuilt function. So we have built-in function, we have the user-defined function. Built-in function also called as library function, predefined function. So well, in the previous programs and all, we have used some predefined function. So there are many functions that resides in respective header files. So if I want to perform the mathematical operations, I need to include the header file called as math.h. If I want to perform some string-oriented functions, we have to include string.h that we discussed in the previous video itself. So we used many functions that resides in this. So like this, there are many functions. When I want to perform some character-oriented operations, I have the header file called as ctype.h. So like this, there are many functions that resides in the header files. Inside these header files, you will have many predefined functions. Many predefined functions. The name itself tells you predefined means it is already defined. We, the user, only have to include these header files and get the definitions of those built-in functions. So we call them as library functions. The functions that resides in the library of the turbo editor. So only we have to include the header files. H stands for header. So it is acting like a folder. Inside that folder, we get many functions and they are called as built-in functions, library functions. So the task of using library function is very simple. We need not define the code of that. We only have to include the header file and use those functions. The compiler will take care of it. Right. But what about this user defined? See, there are some functions which are not defined. So we may perform a variety of tasks and all those variety of tasks may not be here in this header file. So when I want to perform a specific task, then I need to write the code for that. The user has to write the code for that. That is what user-defined function. So well, that user-defined functions we are going to see now. So how to create user-defined, the name itself is self-explanatory. No need of any explanation. User, the user will define. Function means task. Task, how to define a task? Write the code of statement. So how to design that code of statement, how the function looks like and why actually we require this, that we need to see now. That is, we need to see the need for function. So when we have many built-in functions, we can simply use those functions, right? Then why to create our functions? There are some requirements. See, we design variety of programs. And for those variety of programs, we may have to write a variety of code where that may not be available here in the header file. And once we define that function, I can use it for other programs also. So here comes why we require function. So let's talk about the need for function. Let us see the advantages of this user defined function or need for function. Why actually we require function? Why we need to define the code? So repeated statements can be written as functions. So for example, in our program, we have some statements, some set of statements. So for example, statement 1, 2, 3, 4, some statements. These statements has to be executed somewhere else in the mid of the program. So after 3 to 4 lines, I have to execute these statements again. So what I have to do? I have to rewrite this once again. So here, once I rewrite this, the program length is getting increased. Well, these statements I am rewriting again and again. So if I have some repeated statements in my program, I can treat them as one function. So I can treat this as one function. So I can make that as one function. How to make that as one function? We'll see that. Next, once functions are defined, it can be used in other programs. So it says repeated statements can be treated as functions. These repeated statements I'll treat it as a function. And if I want these statements to be executed again somewhere else, I can simply call this function name. Instead of writing all these lines again and again, I can avoid this rewriting. I can simply call that function. So once the function is defined, it can be used not only in my program, it can be used in other programs also. So it is avoiding rewriting of the statements and reusability of the function wherever I require. Next, so here this process we call it as we modularize the program. Modularize means we create them as functions, block of statements. So, and it can be developed independently, debugged independently and tested independently. So once when I have the function concept, we get an idea of the complex task divided into n number of simple tasks. So we say it is complex task, a very, very big task, complex task divided into n number of simple tasks, small task, right? So I can modularize the complete task into small tasks. I say task 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it is like divide and conquer rule. So if you have a very big task to do with you, then what I can do, I can divide that complex task into simpler tasks and make a team of that and assign each and every simple task to every member in my team. So small task, assign it to every members in my team. So my work becomes easy. That is what. And these small tasks can be handled independently. It can be debugged and tested easily. Just imagine you have 100 to 200 lines of complex program. So it becomes very difficult for me to debug that complete program. If you divide that into simple tasks, I can handle that very easily. That is what the idea of function. Then subprograms can be created. That is what small tasks that what I called now, I call them as subprograms, part of the program. Subprograms can be created easily. Divide and conquer. Number of lines in the program is decreased. See, just imagine 100 to 200 lines just writing in one single main function. Just write all the 100 to 200 lines in one single main function. It's very difficult for the compiler to debug the errors also, and it is very difficult for the user also to handle the 100 to 200 lines of program. I'm just telling you 100 to 200. It can be more than that also. So what we do? We divide it. So the size of the main program gets reduced. decreases. And I can treat individual small programs, debug them and test them independently. That is what the idea behind the function. So why we require function, the need of function, advantages, both are same. It says we can treat them as function means it is nothing but block of statements. Once these block of statements are defined, I can reuse it again and again wherever I require. And it avoids the task of rewriting the statements. I need not write the statements again and again. Wherever I require that code, I simply call that function. So I am reusing it. That is what the idea behind function. Now the question arises, how to write this function? Well, how to write this function, the design of the function, that we are going to do. And there are many things that what we need to discuss with this function. Every topic will be dealt in separate videos. So stay tuned to my channel. See you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.